Yes, dear. 1 second, guys. Yeah, I've literally just realised that for the stream so far, for the first 2.5 minutes of the stream, you guys have been on silent. So yeah, sorry about that. Right, anyway, so I'll reintroduce things and hopefully give you a bit more of an experience. So welcome yourselves along to the Mature Racing Club Team Oliver Racing GT3 League. This time live and direct from the streets of Tokyo, quite literally. One of the many street circuits carved out of the various expressways and roads that line Tokyo. Characterised by a behemoth long straight, intersected by some corners that only really serve to take you back to the behemoth long straight once more. So the power cars should do quite well here. This is where the Jags, the Chevrolets that have struggled in the tracks we've had so far can start to, I guess, reassert themselves a little bit. And I would expect the Hondas and the McLarens of the world probably to have a bit of a tougher time. That is until we get to race number 2, because of course tonight is the 2-race format where you have a sprint and a feature race. The second race that we're going to be having tonight is going to happen in wet conditions, so we're going to have a heavy rain forecast for tonight. So just to give you a bit of an insight, so race 1, 9 laps, sunny weather. This is where the drivers typically just do a sprint out. We don't typically see pit stops for race 1, it's usually just a flat out sort of sprint to the flag. Race 2 though is where the strategy kicks in, and my picture's all messed up. Wait till this Mustang gets out of pits. There we go. Race 2 this week is a reverse grid, 13 laps. The drivers get 70 kilos of fuel on board, and we are forecast for rain. We do still have pit stop windows and all that sort of stuff. I don't believe, and in chat you can correct me if I'm wrong, we might get a correction on the stream anyway. I don't believe they've got to run the inters and the wets. I don't think they have. They can just run one compound with wet tyre. as they don't have to run multiple different compounds in race 2. The wets do tend to hold on to their tread a little bit better than the slicks do. They don't generate anywhere near as much heat, even with the cornering lows that these GT3s subject them to. You've still got that cooling water blowing over them constantly. So yeah, the tyre wear doesn't seem to be as bad because the heat cycling on the tyre isn't anywhere near as bad either. Ghost Rider, how are you doing, my friend? As you know, the drivers have had all week to set up their cars for this circuit. They will be running, no doubt, low downforce packages along with some tweaks to the gearbox to make sure that the cars don't run out of juice going down the main straight. You tend to reach max speed on your gearbox by the time you get to the tunnel. Everything else after that really is just slipstream assistance really, which means that slipstream is going to be pretty critical, especially for the sprint race. So yeah, I assume race 2 you don't have to run to. It doesn't say so in the rules, but oh wait, no, I stand corrected. I've read another paragraph down from the bit I was reading, and the drivers do have to use the wets and the intermediates. The grip levels between the two shouldn't be too dramatically different. The rain conditions we're expecting to have aren't heavy rain, so it doesn't mean that the inters aren't able to disperse quite as much water as the wet weather tyres are. The full wets, of course, similar in sort of how they look to your road tyres in a lot of way. They've got very deep tread intersected. The inters are more cut slicks. They don't disperse anywhere near as much water as the wets do, but they also offer a bit of a better grip in more changeable conditions, and without as much sort of standing water. So you might expect to see the drivers dipping offline more than on in the second race, just to keep the tyre temperatures where they need to be, and to maximise the grip that the tyres are offering to you. So we're underway with qualifying now. I think this is a 15-minute session, and this will be manual. It's quite a long lap here, just shy of 2 minutes for most cars. I was looking at 56s in the practice lobby. Man of the moment at the minute is Duco. In the Mercedes, he's been having an absolutely fantastic time so far. Been on the podium every single time. Last time out as well. Absolutely crushed it. Let me just get this up. Just waiting for the first times to start peeling in. I was trying to go through the chat just to see if I could spot anything from last week, but it's all draw the duck pictures. To be fair, that's kind of my fault. I am sorry. I'll challenge the drivers to a draw the duck picture. Sean is here, I think. Oh, it was. I'm sure I saw the McLaren. 1 minute. Where is he? He's there. I just missed him on track. Let's go and find out. He's in the McLaren upstairs. He might have a bit of a bad day of it today. Yeah, he's been in and changed tyres. Yeah, so he might have a bit of a bad day of it in the McLaren. He's only just coming out, yeah, so he did this last week as well. He didn't really take part in qualification last week, so I'm not sure what's got into the guy, but either way, the two Stangs are going around. So provisional, now everyone's set a lap. We'll go through some of the provisional qualification standings is probably the right way of putting it. Is Diablo and Buddy kill each other? Diablo is your pole sitter though for the time being at 56.8 in the Mustang. Phil G then in the NSX 57.0 for him, just shy of 2 tenths off that pole position. Lucky Bucky then in the Mercedes 57.0 for Lucky Bucky, with MRC Buddy nearly a second behind him. So we know that Mustang is capable of more. He's gearing himself up for a full slingshot slipstream here, coming down at that main straight, and now goes down the hill, down the main straight, 180 miles an hour right that Mustang as he goes across the start finish straight. He will churn a little bit off now as they start to go uphill, back down to about 175 or so. And that's all just about picking your braking zone down into turn 1. We will try and get an onboard lap with someone as well, by the way, so you can have an experience of the track yourself. Yeah, Britsberger then, fifth at the minute, 58.0 for Britsberger. Rob Scott, he's been doing well as well. He's in the Chevy, he's done a 58.1. Cutler, the tyre whisperer himself, his strengths may not come out to play today. 58.2 for Cutler, and then we've got Duco 58.4 so far, second and a half of pole position. Sonic Racer in the Jag 59.3 for Sonic Racer, his best time so far. Then Gwyn in the other Jag 59.7 for Gwyn, nearly 3 seconds off that pole position time. With Slow Seamus in the Audi 201.7 for good enough for P11 at the minute. Roving Island in the Honda 202.1 for him, P12 at the moment. D-Dot hasn't set a time yet. There is a time on there, but it's not illuminated, so that tells me it didn't count for one reason or another. And Sean we've covered already. So yeah, not too sure what happened with Sean. So we do have Rob Scott in the Corvette actually setting a lot of personal best sectors, so if he can reel himself onto the back of the car ahead, he's 4 temps up at the minute, that'll put him firmly into the high 57s, which should chuck him up near the top 3, but it is all about this main straight. The Chevrolet's a tower of power. Looks like Britsberger ahead in the Aston Martin, that V12, that's where this thing will sing. That will just pull away. You can hear Rob actually short shifting the Chevrolet. Probably set his gearbox up that way. And was he up or down that time? I forgot to actually look. Bucky went purple middle sector actually. Rob Scott does improve by, he lost a little bit of time in that last sector though, probably lacking a slipstream. Now dips into the 57s, 57.8 for Rob Scott. Let's find a driver to jump on board with for a lap. Let's see who's out there just about to set one. Do have a couple of drivers coming down the main straight now actually. Let's jump on board with D-Dot, fellow streamer. So D-Dot is in the Chevrolet now. It's a 2:0 on the box, so good enough P10 at the minute for D-Dot. So I'm just going to go on board with D-Dot. You can see he's doing 165 up here. We know the Mustangs are going a lot quicker, so I'm wondering if there's he's just set his gear, but I don't know, not too sure. So braking about 150 metres, down roughly to second. D-Dot actually goes into first here. That's going to give him a hard time under acceleration. Manages to keep it nice and control, up into second. Ripping through the gears, and you go slightly uphill then, and you start to go into the overpasses. You're looking for the 50-metre board. You just want to get your car changed down and flicked in. You barely shred off any speed here. The corner is more open than you think. This one is deceptive as well. And then you start to go back downhill, back onto the main expressway. Flat out in a GT3 car this corner. The next corner usually just requires a little lift. There we go, just a little bit of a lift just to get the car tucked into the inside. And then again, you're looking for that 50-metre board. Get the car flicked in, tucked in nice and early, and straight back on the power as soon as you dare. Watch for the wall on the exit. D-Dot just with a slight wall tap there, but firmly in the slipstream of the NSX up ahead. He is up on his time as well. He's going to go into the 159s if he carries on, but he's right under the wing of another car. Then you need to look for your braking. You need to put your braking point for the last corner. Just gives that NSX just a little bit of a tap and backs off. He still wants to slipstream them for the start finish straight. Get your power out on here as quickly as you can. D-Dot then looks like he just didn't want to tangle with that NSX anymore as you go down the main start finish straight. Yeah, he just lost a ton of time there. Unfortunately for D-Dot, he ended up catching that NSX a lot quicker than he actually wanted to, so he'll have to go again. Phil G then takes the lead, again showing his excellent pace of 56.7 for Phil G. Phil G with an exceptional result last time out in the NSX. I can't actually see the results screen from last week. I keep forgetting to look back at it before I start streaming. It's usually helpful for tracking forms, but I know he did very well. He's continuing on with his purple laps as well. Lucky bucket then in the AMG. He's up third in that Mercedes. We know that Mercedes is pretty quick in the middle sector. Might lose out a little bit to the Mustangs on the main straight. He's got a lot more wing to it, a lot more downforce. He's probably not tuned all the downforce out of that car, which is why he's flying in the middle. But it's obviously serving him well. If he can get a slipstream, that will be a car that is built for all occasions. Diablo P2 then for Diablo so far in qualifying. Looking to tuck himself under the wing of the Audi. Slow Seamus for now. Rob Scott up to 4th. We covered him a little while ago. Cutler then up to 5th. In a minute in the Mercedes, and he's currently got involved in that little D-Dot and Roving Ireland battle that was going off. But it's bigger than the Aston Martin. I'm just looking at the top speed, so as he goes across the start finish straight, 167 for Great Spring, he does improve his time to P6. But I know for a fact these Mustangs, they're doing 180 miles an hour there coming down there. He's obviously just ripped all the downforce off that car, so this Mustang is useless in a corner. It'll be interesting to see how they set it up for the wet weather and see how patient he's having to be on the throttle. But when he get and look at that, purple by a second for Diablo. Good job we jumped on board with him. If he can keep behind Buddy and just get the slipstream here. You see the car just doesn't like the corners. And I think he's ripped a load of downforce off this thing. Yeah, he's lost a little bit of time there, but he's still purple. Yeah, the car is really skittish into the corners. He just doesn't want to turn, but or when it does turn, it breaks traction very quickly. So I'm interested to see if he's got a wet setup that he's got. That between the races, he'll just wheel the car into the garage and get the mechanics to work on that wet setup. Probably soften a lot of the suspension up, put a lot of that downforce back on. Because with a street circuit like this, where it's very smooth, you haven't got a ton of camber to worry about. You do want quite a stiff ride, so to speak. You want quite the opposite thing in the way. You don't want the rebound to mess up the balance of the car too much. You want to keep the balance of the car very centralised. To do that, you do often need quite a subtle ride. So the setups and the way these cars will handle are going to be very different for these drivers for both races. So adapting to those changes is going to be pretty critical. I'd expect to see a lot of drivers out in the break. You see Sean at the McLaren just ahead as well. He does enter the top 8. Diablo does go purple though. Over 56.5. I'd be interested what his optimum time is, because he's doing 180 miles an hour coming down that main straight. He's going to turn to Buddy as well. So I think this is last qualifying lap for most people. Then does Phil G improve that time? No, he doesn't. Lucky Bucky doesn't improve that time around either. Neither does Rob Scott, Cutler, Britsberger, Buddy. Sonic Racer. Gwyn did improve 58.3 for Gwyn in the Jag. He's on a better lap now as well, just about to come across the timing line, so we'll see if he's improving. Not too much ahead to Sonic Racer. He is improving, but he might not leapfrog 8th. Let's come back to him. Someone that is struggling though is Duco. He's 10th for the minute on a 58.4, so yeah, he is struggling. D-Dot then in 11th. 59.2 for D-Dot. He's broached the 2 minutes. Now following Cutler around. Slow Seamus in the Audi. 59.3 for Slow Seamus. So most drivers now under the 2 minute barrier. Roving Ireland in the NSX. One of the only drivers that's still over it. And Sean now out on his final and only real flying lap. He's 3 seconds off the pace at the minute, Sean. So he's really got to make it count this lap around. Anyone setting blistering sector times, there's a few drivers improving, but there's no one setting the timing boards alight. we will of course keep an eye on it. Did Gwyn improve enough? He did improve, but not by a lot. Good consistency though, 158.397 and then a 58.327 for Gwyn, so showing improved consistency. Sonic Racer then going to be one of the next drivers to cross the line alongside Britsberger. We're getting timing lines for these. Phil G did go purple in his penultimate sector, 56.3 for Phil G, does beat Diablo's time. Diablo couldn't improve that time round, so 56.5 for Diablo and a P2 for him so far in the opening race. Phil G snags pole at the very last step. Lucky Bucky can't improve, Buddy can't improve, Rob Scott can't improve, Cutler can't improve, Bitsberger can't improve, Sonic Racer doesn't end up improving, neither does Gwyn. And that is a drag race then between D-Dot and Duco. Can Duco get himself further up the top 10 order? 58.4 for him so far. He does improve 58.3, but it still keeps him 10th. D-Dot doesn't improve either. Slow Seamus is just sat burning fuel because he hates the environment. Roving Allen does improve even, neither does Sean. Actually did improve that time a little bit, so that should leapfrog him up just a tiny amount. So your pole sitter, a man in redemption form is Phil G. Just stealing that pole from Diablo then by just 0.2 of a second, but the Mustang will be a very, very real threat in a straight line, but we've seen how skittish he is in a corner, so it will be up to the other drivers to navigate his way around that. When you get on the infield, I call it the infield, the twisty section of this circuit, it's quite hard to make a move. Most overtakes will be done down into turn 1. Once you get off the main motorway sort of thing, it is quite hard to get past other cars. The track is wide enough, it's just often the racing line is single file. I see Sean then 11th in the McLaren. This was always going to be a track that the McLaren would struggle at. It's not a power car. Its forte is very much in the handling circuits, and this just isn't one. I've had races here in handling cars, and you dance around the middle sector, but everything just leaves you in a straight line. And no matter how much you tune your gearbox and take all the downforce off, if you haven't got enough ponies under the hood, you ain't doing anything about it. So a short break then before we get underway for race number 1. I will remind you of the format very quickly. So race 1 that you're about to see, 9 laps of this Tokyo Street Circuit. Sunny weather, any tyres for it, no mandatory pit stop, nothing like that. The drivers do have to battle a number of things though. They have to battle each other, which is always a challenge, but they also have heavy damage on the cars, which means if they incur any damage during the race, and if that happens, I will try and explain a little bit about what the damage is and why it would be an issue. They have to go to the pit stops to get that fixed. It will not just vaporise away like some do. Gwyn, you need to pass sector 1, mate, or your time ain't counting. What else was I going to say as well? I was going to say something else. Yeah, they've had to tune the cars as well. So these cars aren't what we call bopped, or balance of performance. They all have to adhere to a certain weight and power limit, which is our custom balance of performance, and then they are free to tune the cars. So they are then free to tinker with the suspension, damping settings, the gearbox, aero, all that sort of stuff. Their team will have been working very much on the data that they've accumulated from past seasons. Practice sessions during the week, of course, that we don't broadcast, so they will have been out collecting that data and using that to set up their own car to their own preference. currently enjoying smashing each other to smithereens in the pre-race area as well. Let's have a quick run through the tables as we are waiting. So currently topping your leaderboard, but not doing very well in the race so far in qualifying, is Duco. So he's P1 at the minute. P2 is Rob Scott in the Chevrolet. P3 is Britsberger in the Aston Martin. Sean, through brilliant consistency so far, is in 4th. Then we've got Cutler in 5th. Phil G, who you're looking at on screen, is 6th, but I think, hopefully, touch wood, his bad luck has run its course, and Phil's someone who we know can pick up a result. Lucky Bucky 7th then, Diablo in 8th, Buddy in 9th, and Roving Island rounds out your top 10. As we are ready for race number 1 from round 4. This is the ProAm lobby, of course. If you're looking for the Pro, you need to head over to YouTube and over onto Dark Smoker's channel. He streams those. Go and check it out anyway if you haven't already. And of course, this entire league sponsored by Team Oliver Racing. Round 4 from the ProAm League here. Tokyo Expressway race. Number 1 on the sprint race, 9 laps. The Mercedes Lucky Bucky got a brilliant start there. He might be able to leapfrog both the front runners. He's certainly pulling out a gap now. The NSX seemed to bog down a little bit. The Mustang takes a little bit of time just to get into its stride. The Chevrolet Rob Scott behind got a good start as well. There's already hassling Cutler and Buddy a little bit further back. Britsberger's really fallen behind. He's down to 8th. Going up to 7th, had a great start and preemptively tapping my... Oh, we've got everyone going very deep here. There's a word for this. It starts in cluster and ends in a word I'm not allowed to broadcast on Twitch, and unfortunately that has well, fortunately for Cutler, that's promoted him to 1st. Lucky Bucky now 2nd, but Diablo and Phil G down to 3rd and 4th respectively. Britsberger after a poor start now back up to 5th. Oh, we've got a car off. Who was that? That was Phil, and he's got damage to his car as well. Right, I need to, but before anything happens, I need to go back and have a quick look. Let's actually jump on board with Britsberger, because he might have got a good view of everyone ahead, sort of just going a little bit too deep. Yeah, it looks like everyone just went a little bit deep, look. Sort of quite well behaved in getting back together. So I'll have a little bit of a recap then. We've got Mercedes 1-2 of Cutler and Lucky Bucky. Then we've got Diablo up to 3rd. He's got Britsberger for company in the Aston Martin, the V12 Tower of Power. Then MRC Buddy just ahead of D-Dot. D-Dot's had a dream start up to 6th and has the slip of the Mustang up ahead. Then we've got Rob Scott in the other Chevrolet in 7th. Gwyn in 8th position, Slow Shames 9th, Sonic Racer in 10th, Sean down in 11th, Roving Island in 12th, Duco with engine damage in 13th. Don't really know what's caused that. He's had that a while, I'm afraid, and Phil, who I think I jinxed by saying his luck has turned the other way, and he's 14th with damage. Duco's going to have to pit with that, because that is engine power limiting. That's not something he can fix on the fly. And I'd imagine Phil G will also come into the pits as well. Not what you want to be doing, pitting on the end of lap 1. 19 laps I've just seen. I'm sure the pre-race brief said 9 laps. Am I reading this wrong? I get a little brief that, well, all the racers get it. And it said 9 lap race and then a 13 lap race for race 2, which would make sense given the timing. Yeah, 19 laps, 2 minutes a lap. This is gonna take us about 40 minutes to go through this. I don't know whether that's an admin error or I've read it wrong on the screen. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, we'll carry on. We have Diablo actually falling back a little bit here now. He's barely driving. So yeah, he's gone into some sort of fuel saving mode. Buddy's left the room. Yeah, we're going to have to do a restart, which for some drivers in it won't be good news because they had a bit of a dream start. But if you are Phil G or Duco, you will be praying to whatever god you pray to, because that's a stroke of luck for those two guys who incurred damage on lap 1. So now it's time for everyone to get it right down into turn 1 yet again. I don't know where Buddy's gone. Not sure what happened to Buddy. Hopefully he'll be back. Yeah, the thing is when you do a restart, like, you always gotta have some people who it favours and some it just doesn't, who had a really good start, and because of other people like making mistakes, they're going to be very grateful of the restart or not. But the restart is what we've got. 19 laps. Yeah, it was probably just a keying error. It happens. It's not a major issue. It can be very easily fixed, which is exactly what's happening now. So we're just waiting for Diablo and Buddy to enter, the two Mustang drivers. Just Diablo now, the man from Down Under, and then we can set the grid and get underway. While I've got this little reprieve, I will just have a quick look at the bottom half of the Pro-Am table. So in 11th, yeah, D-Dot. He's not had a great season so far, D-Dot, and I think the car he's in just hasn't really worked on any of the tracks so far. This might be a turning point for it, but again, Tokyo's a very difficult track. One slap of the wall and you've got damage. Slow Seamus in the Audi is 12th with Sonic Racer and 13th in the Jag. And then you got Quinn in the Mercedes in 14th. I don't think he's here tonight, but I think he did tell us he couldn't make it. And then Gwyn in the Jag as well. Right. Yeah, I've been live half an hour already, and we've only really managed to get through quali. These things happen. So hopefully you've all enjoyed the little mini heatwave we've had here in England today. I can tell you I've been working all of it, and I literally only finished work at 8 o'clock. So my day has mostly been spent inside looking at a computer screen. It's been very, very fun indeed, but it is what it is. Can I just go on board with Duco and just see what's going wrong? Looks like we're about to start. Yeah, we are. I don't know. It's pretty hard to see from that little onboard. So we're going to go again. Right, attempt number 2, 9 laps this time. So at least the top two then have another opportunity to not get it wrong down into turn 1. My finger is hovering over the replay key. As the race was red flagged, we're now back underway for a standing restart here. 9 laps of Tokyo Expressway are underway. Phil G's not got away at all, though. The car is stuck on the grid. Another car is stuck on the grid as well. That's Diablo. Oh, it's chaos, and I don't think any cars have managed to get away at all. Lucky Bucky. Yeah, there was all sorts. And I think, yeah, this now is going to be red flag for this session. And I'm afraid we're going to have to try again. Phil G didn't move though. Yeah, why didn't Phil move? Was it an issue? So during the red flag period, hopefully he can have a little bit of an opportunity to diagnose that. Maybe an electrical issue or anti-stall on the grid or something, but either way the car didn't seem up for moving. It had power, it had lights, so it didn't do a Sergio Perez on him. It just seemed to it just didn't seem to want to engage and get underway. He was in gear as well. I saw that. So maybe just an engaging clutch issue or something, not too sure. Anyway, we try again. So yeah, all the drivers will now re-enter. We'll have the grid just assigned. And I think this restart will be the last one then. I don't foresee them doing a fourth restart. The good news is lots of practice starts for the guys. They've had the opportunity to start twice now under racing conditions and actually make their way down to turn 1 on a couple of occasions. I don't know what's wrong with Duco's Merc, but it's losing buckets loads of time in the corners. Just doesn't seem to want to grip on the turning. Yeah, that's not enjoying life when going around the corner at the minute, that car. And it's not the most powerful in a straight line either. Third time lucky, Phil. Yeah, well, I was just curious as to what your start gremlins were. Hopefully your start is a little bit better this time round. The car was going around the circuit just now, so hopefully whatever it was, he's managed to get that going again. So if you think you're seeing things, ladies and gentlemen, or somehow travelled back in time, you have not. This is the third attempt at getting a race going here at Tokyo Expressway. We've had a couple of technical issues. Driver's just holding it under the lights at the minute, just waiting for the signal to go. We'll just check if Phil does get away this time round. He does indeed, but the Mercedes of Lucky Bucky again gets a flyer over start. That car absolutely just rocketed off the start line. Even better start than the first time round, I think. And he is already flying past Diablo. Phil G this time round did get a decent start, and Diablo in the Mustang got a better start as well, so he's now 3 wide going down into turn 1 for the first time of asking. Diablo with that V8 motor just able to pull an advantage then going down into turn 1. Everyone seems to get a slightly tidier entry into this one. No major issues looking at it. It looks like Duco's trying to go around the outside of 2 cars there, Britzberger and D-Dot by the looks of things. And indeed gets himself up to 9th position. We have got Roving Island just knocked down a couple of places at the back. Lucky Bucky then has pulled his way up into P1. I might choose to go back and have a look at that unless something dramatic kicks off here. I don't think it is doing. As we saw Cutler go really wide, then Diablo up to P2. Cutler then in third. We've got Phil G down in 4th. The NSX never seems to really start that well. But in race pace should hold its own. Buddy then up into 5th. Rob Scott 6th position for the Chevrolet at the minute. Gwyn battling away with D-Dot at the minute. D-Dot up to 7th position. He's having a great start. Gwyn just losing out now to Duco. Duco's having a better time of it in race pace. Maybe that car's just trimmed out for race pace rather than one lap sprint speed. Lucky Bucky is going for this, ladies and gentlemen. He's 2 seconds ahead. Now, the important thing for Lucky Bucky there, he's not punching a hole in the air for anybody. Whereas Diablo is giving slipstream to Cutler, Phil G and Buddy. So the top 5 still very close together. Then you've got Rob Scott and D-Dot, the 2 Chevrolets, battling for ultimate Yankee supremacy there. Then Duco's just getting overtaken now by the Jag and the Aston. The Mercedes will come undone here. He won't want to get swarmed going down to turn 1 by the other Jag, Sonic Racer, but we'll just jump back up. Lucky Bucky, just see how much faster the Mustang is in a straight line. 183 miles an hour as he breaks down into turn 1, whereas Lucky Bucky was doing 160, about 165. So there's about a 50 mile an hour difference between those cars once they start actually going. Lucky Bucky, who's going to be superior in the middle sectors, is going to have to get that work done on the track, and we've already sort of said how difficult the overtakes are to make here, so he's got his work cut out. Diablo's strategies are all about it's the rocket effect. Basically, he just wants to make his car an absolute straight line bullet. You see Lucky Bucky's all over the back end of him, but we will come back to that. I just want to keep an eye on the Cutler and Phil G battle. Phil G has lost out to Cutler there ultimately. The top 5 now starting to pull away from D-Dot. D-Dot now just ahead of Slow Seamus. The Audi's had a great start. So Slow Seamus so far up to 7th, ahead of Duco. Then we've got Rob Scott, Sonic Racer, don't forget, coming down the start-finish straight. All these guys were all clumped together, so it was going to resolve itself one way or another, and this appears to be how it's done. The entire field so far still only covered by 10 seconds as we come towards the end of lap number 2, so the slipstream playing a vital role. Let's just jump on board with Diablo. He's short shifting this car as well. 150 miles an hour already, so he's already going a lot faster than Lucky Bucky's. He's already doing Lucky Bucky's top speed then before they even enter the bridge. 180 miles an hour he passes him. Lucky Bucky's just a passenger at this point. That Mustang in a straight line. Lucky Bucky with slipstream though is doing 172 miles an hour, so he's closing that gap now with a little bit of slipstream. But Buddy in another Mustang that can do 186, I clocked it out there. They just sail past the Mercedes. The other Mercedes have Cutler again. Another car that's limited to about 170 mile an hour. Just trying to defend away to Phil G in the Honda NSX. Phil G with a good move down the inside. It looked like it anyway, but I think he's ended up backing out of that and lets Cutler back through. Duco up to 7th. Next target for him is D-Dot. We've got Sean up to 8th. He's another driver that's in the race. He's just doing a little bit better than he was in qualifying. Sonic Racer now in 9th. Britzberger in 10th. The Aston Martin that I think should sing here is struggling. I might come back to him on the straight and see what's going on. Gwyn's carrying a little bit of damage. He's got front aero and front left suspension, so in essence the front of the car's not going to be as aerodynamically efficient as it would be before. That will affect him not only in corners but in braking as well, because he won't get the front end of the car quite into the tarmac as he'd like it to be. And the suspension typically does just mean you can carry a little bit less lateral load from right hand turns if it's on the left hand side, and it will sort of shake and vibrate quite a lot on the straights as well, so irritating and a little bit slower. Moving down up to 12th with Rob Scott, who's had a terrible lap, somewhere down in 13th position with Slow Seamus down in 14th. I cursed him by saying he was doing well. Unfortunately he is no longer. So now we've got Lucky Bucky, who was leading the race for the first lap, now down in 4th place. He is just behind Cutler. Though he's going to go for that move down the start-finish straight. These guys, I'll be honest, they need to work together. Phil G pits. Why does Phil G pit? He has a little bit of damage. Just front aero though, he probably could have carried on without fixing that, unless this is all part of his master plan. Pretty confident that they can. Oh, Diablo there, you can just see how unhappy that car is under the brakes. As Lucky Bucky goes for the move down the inside of Cutler, that was seemingly nicely executed. Cutler though able to tidy it up on exit and keeps the move. Yeah, Cutler actually just goes a little bit deep. Gives the space at the apex, but can tidy it up on exit quite sufficiently. D-Dot then up to 5th because of Phil G's pit stop. And he's got the Mercedes of Duco now right up his gearbox. So yeah, your race pace is tended to bleed off a little bit for most cars. For most cars as well, just keeping it clean out of the walls. Not really bruising the car too much in terms of damage or tyre wear or anything like that. That will stand you in good stead for the race. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, you'll want to stick around for race 2. We are forecast a little bit of rain here at Tokyo. These GT3 cars, and they don't like that. They'll battle down the last corner, boys. Just slipstream each other, catch up to the Mustangs. You're already losing out tons of time to them. So is Duco in D-Dot's slipstream? He's not at the minute, but he had a better exit out of that final corner. Britsberger in the Aston, that's a car I think that should do well in a straight line. So D-Dot's doing 164 as he enters the bridge. Duco's about the same. So in terms of gearbox tuning, these two guys pretty similar. Couple of pits. Yeah, he's really reeling in the Chevrolet now. Is he going to be able to Sonoda him down at turn 1 though? You can see actually he gets really late on the brake side as Duco, and D-Dot ends up going too deep, and he's going to be side by side now coming through turn 2. D-Dot manages to get that tidied up just in time. And unfortunately for Duco, he also made a mistake going into turn 1. Otherwise he would have been clean past by now, because D-Dot went very deep. So D-Dot, who's just 4 seconds off the Mercedes ahead, is gaining time as well on Lucky Bucky. So we will be looking at that delta, just thinking to himself, if him and Duco do work together, they can probably catch the Mercedes ahead. A little bit of a wall scrape there, nothing too major. Duco does the same thing. In fact, it costs Duco a lot more time. But yeah, if Lucky Bucky, he's going to be losing time to the guys out, because they're in Mustangs. They're pretty much an OP car from around here by the looks of things. I mean, if you can do 15 miles an hour faster down the straights than any of the other cars can, you're going to be in a good position. What they like for fuel, they're not bad on fuel either, you know. They don't need to stop. There's no mandatory pit stops in this first race. They can just go. So we have seen some cars pit, and in my head I've sort of questioned that decision, I guess, because the pit stops, you know, they can cost you around 30-40 seconds. It's not always worth it, I'll be brutally honest. Britsberger, what's he doing down the straight? 170. The Aston not as fast as I thought it would be. 167 miles an hour down the straights isn't as fast as I'd expect a V12 Aston Martin to go. Sean up to 7th then by virtue of a lot of other cars pitting. Cutler has pitted. I'm not sure why. I didn't see him have any damage. So is Phil, but Phil did have a little bit of damage. He's now down in 9th place. Roving Island in 10th. We've got Rob Scott in 11th. Start from hell for Rob Scott by the looks of things. He's trying to battle his way back through now. Slow Seamus in the Audi, who I cursed by saying he was doing well. And then we've got Gwyn, who did have that damage. He's been in and got that repaired. He's now racing with his Jaguar Compadre Sonic Racer. Sonic Racer might love to get the move completed on his Jaguar friend here as he tucks back in and just stays put for the time being. But your man of the moment as we start lap 6 of 9, or we're halfway through 6 of 9 rather, is Diablo. The man from down under. It's about 7 AM where he is now, something daft like that. So it's really early for Diablo to be getting up and doing racing. So he'll be tucking into his breakfast, racing some cars. That was the worst Australian accent. I'm no good at accents. He has got Buddy for company though, so same cars for these guys. Buddy's used a little bit less fuel, so if it comes down to having to fuel save, which I don't think it will, Buddy's got the upper hand there, and if he's been short shifting, he can probably afford to let loose a little bit more coming towards the end of the race. Lucky Bucky, we were kind of concerned that D-Dot would catch him. That's not been the case so far, and D-Dot, if anything, has absolutely mullered through his fuel, and I think he's going to have to stop. Yeah, he's going to stop now. He's gone down to quarter of a tank. Duco's done alright on his fuel. I think he'll be fine. Britsberger, what's Britsberger on? He's fine as well, so Sean. So yeah, might have just been, some cars might have been fuel limited. D-Dot now is out in 9th position. So yeah, just fuel for D-Dot really has been the issue so far. Any battles on track to concern ourselves with? We did have the Jaguar battle to look at between Gwyn and Sonic Racer. We all going to watch that for a moment actually, because that's heating up as Gwyn gets his way past Sonic Racer. Sonic Racer might try and tidy this one up under braking. Let's just get on. Oh, and Gwyn goes very deep, but so does Sonic Racer. Gives him a little tap, and you heard him back off there to give the position, well, or let Gwyn keep the position. And actually backing off Fall here as to not make a silly move around the inside. Coming round the infield. So these two cars are exactly the same. The only thing different really is the setup of the car and the squishy organic bit that's at home driving it. Other than that, the cars are the same power unit, same tyres, etc, etc. Just another 2 and a bit laps now to navigate with these cars in order to confirm who is the best Jag driver. The top 3 starting to pull away, and Duco's now got himself into 4th, obviously because D-Dot pitted. And the problem is now he's got the attention of Britsberger. Britsberger in the Aston Martin, who will have slipstream on the Mercedes. Will be licking his lips at the prospect of scalping the no doubt probably fastest driver on the grid at the minute. Weaving there ahead is Duco just to try and break that toe. He will now command the right hand side of the track. If Britsberger wants his position, he's going to have to go the long way for it. Now you're your braking point down into turn 1. Britsberger looks like he might have gone a little bit deep, but he just committed to the outside line. Yeah, nice and tidy actually between those two. No major issues, and Britsberger's gonna have to try again, but importantly they both live to see another day. My driver of the race so far has been Sean. He's been just nailing that consistency. Hasn't really put a foot wrong all race, and if I remember correctly was at the back of the grid or near enough the back of the grid at the start of the race, and in a car that doesn't really deserve to be called a competitive car in a power circuit. He's dragged that thing up to P6. He's getting caught now though by Phil G and Cutler, 2 pit stopping cars. Cutler does have a little bit of damage, so he's gone into a wall there, Cutler, on the front right corner. No, sorry, front. I was looking at it the opposite way around and confused myself. The front left corner of that Mercedes has took a bit of a whack. So he will either have to come in and get that repaired. Or just put it with it. I'd imagine he will just put up with it for now. Like I say, he will lose a little bit of lateral grip, but that should only really bother him in right-hand corners. Of which there aren't too many. Does he survive? Yes, he survives damage there. So Diablo now he's pulling away from Buddy. 2.5 seconds is the gap then between the two Mustangs as they start their final lap. Lucky Bucky has pulled a gap now on Duco. He has 3rd in the bag as long as he keeps it on the straight and narrow, and yet again it is Mercedes versus Aston Martin as we come down the main start finish straight. Britsberger this time has managed to command the inside. Duco might have just left it a little bit late to defend that one. He's going to force him narrow anyway. Britsberger dives out to the left just to try and widen the steering angle then into the corner so he can potentially carry a little bit more speed. I did see a bollard go flying there. I think Duco did end up hitting one. Sean, is he susceptible? He could still get caught by Cutler and Phil G. Cutler's actually got his way past now. So this would have been a bit of a send from Cutler then down into turn one. It was an almighty send, but he got it stopped on the apex. I'm not sure Phil G was expecting that. A great overtake then by Cutler with damage as well. I think that one caught Phil off guard. He's up to 7th. He could potentially catch Sean. That might be a drag race down the start finish straight though, if ever I've seen one. Sean just needs to try and pull an advantage in the part of the track where he is strong. We've got D-Dot 9th after his stop, Rob Scott 10th. D-Dot should keep ahead of the other Chevrolet driver, but we will of course see Roving Island in 11th, Gwyn in 12th, now got himself ahead of Slow Seamus, and Sonic Racer brings up the rear of the field. Meanwhile, at the top of the field, your race winner so far is Diablo. He has lost a lot of that momentum though to Buddy, that potentially just because he might have had to save a little bit of fuel, or he might well have slapped a wall. Either way, your man from Down Under takes the win in the first race tonight. MRC Buddy takes the second step of the podium with Lucky Bucky bringing it in 3rd for the Mercedes team. They'll be absolutely chuffed with that. Good result for Lucky Bucky. Duco and Britsberger dragging it out for the line. Duco by 7 thousandths of a second. Sean and Cutler, we did say this is going to be dragged to the line. Sean does win that in a McLaren. Cutler in 7th. We've got Phil G in 8th ahead of Rob Scott in 9th. He is just ahead of D-Dot. Unfortunately, D-Dot did lose that position on the final lap. D-Dot finishes 10th. His fuel use was quite heavy in that first stint. Then it's a close battle then between Slow Seamus and Sonic Racer. Again, that's the closest finish I have seen. That was 6 hundredths of a second between those two. I was too busy talking about D-Dot's fuel usage. I forgot to go back and check what was happening a little bit further back. So that's race number 1. So lessons learned from that. Quite a fuel hungry circuit. As we've seen, pit stopping is quite damaging to your overall race pace. The next race we've got coming up is going to be in the wet. So a completely different theory in terms of yes, you can do that. You can leave the race, I think, because it's just going to be reverse grid anyway. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, so race number 2 coming up. So we're going to have a 10-minute break. So this one's going to be 13 laps. So a little bit longer than the one we've just seen. The drivers, instead of having a full tank of gas or fuel, as proper people call it, they'll only be given 70 kilos of fuel. It's going to be raining. No drivers are allowed to change their tyres until the end of lap 4. Although they are allowed to pit to repair damage and add fuel. Drivers do have to use both compounds of tyres, so the full wets and the intermediates. They can take them really in any order. Now I'll be honest, this is where my knowledge runs out, because I've never tested in these conditions, like in these tuned GT3 cars, the difference between the inters and the wets in the rain. So I don't know what the difference is going to be. My sort of thoughts on it are that in theory inters should be a little bit faster. But they will also see a little bit more tyre degradation than a full wet will. A full wet will have the durability, potentially. It just depends on how much rain. The magical question of how much rain is on the plane. looking at the track. Of course we're in a tunnel right now, so we won't see that. So some drivers choosing different theories of this. Let's have a look. The spray normally gives us a good story, so yeah, it's not, we're not seeing puddles, so in theory, just looking at it as it is, slow Seamus is going backwards, as it stands there, looking at Britsberger's car, the Inters should be the fastest tyre around here. But if I'm wrong, I will fully accept that I'm wrong. I just can't, yeah, there's a little bit of standing water around here at the back of the circuit. Not enough really normally to justify a full wet tyre. These are intermediate weather conditions. That being said, you don't really have a dry line appearing on the circuit yet. That's why the full wets will work on here, because they have got enough water to disperse and prevent them from overheating. Different drivers trying different things, so the wets are being used quite heavily in Stint 1, which means that I'd imagine a lot of drivers are just going to pit and get rid of that tyre as soon as they can, really. We know most cars can do 9 laps on fuel. We've got 13 laps here, yeah, so I would imagine, I mean, my strategy would be 4 laps on wets, 9 laps on inters. That would be my strat. Just looking at, I mean, without testing, obviously, I don't know how fast either tyre is. But yeah, that looks to be the way this one will go. Did I save the replay? Yes. Right. I am probably just going to make myself a cup of tea. Top 3 weight. Oh yeah, forgot about that as well. So the top 3 drivers from... So who is it going to be? It's going to be the 2 Mustangs, as if they needed any extra weight. And Lucky Bucky, they all have to now add success ballast to their car. Now in the wet, is having extra weight in your car in wet conditions that much of a problem? I would argue not. It gives you more weight to potentially transfer and therefore upset the car, but if you've done your homework on your setup, that shouldn't really be too much of an issue. It should just in theory complement the downforce that you run. So whereas in race 1 I sort of talked about how a lot of cars would run low downforce, i.e. this man we know was doing a very low downforce setting. I would imagine drivers in this series would run more downforce. We might still see the top speeds we were seeing, as we see D-Dot there getting up to 160. But if we still see Diablo doing 180 mile an hour, we know he's not ripped all the downforce. We know he's not put all the downforce back on that car. And that is going to make that car an absolute handful in the corners. He's already got damage and he's only on like a practice lap. Oh, that car, yeah, just not happy in the corners at all for Diablo, with his extra weight as well. So how fast is it going down the straights? He's blipping on and off. It's 160. He's took a little bit off because it's, yeah, he has took some off. It's only going, he's put some downforce back on, sorry. 170 mile an hour, so yeah, he's not going anywhere near as quick in a straight line as he was. So he's got a little bit more aerodynamic drag on the car, which you kind of need to get the turn in right here. I'm just going to make a cup of tea, so I'm looking at this. Pick my favourite cup. But yeah, I'm not actually that convinced that extra weight's going to be a big problem for these boys, you know. I don't think they'll struggle with that too much. So if the audio was cutting out, then I was holding the headphone jack in the wrong way. But any predictions then? For race 2, first wet race of the season. Always a test for drivers, always an equaliser as well for a lot of the cars. But this is where I might well expect the McLaren to do a better job. I just heard a familiar sound of a race starting then, and I'm not even near my thingy. Yeah, race is starting. So here we go then. Race number 2, Tokyo in the wet. Confirmation of your grid coming up on your screen. It's good how I'm doing all this from memory because I'm not near my computer. There we go. So reverse grid then as always. We'll have the Jags getting us underway. Of course it's dry in the tunnel, so in terms of starting, they're trying to start GT3 cars on wet or intermediate tyres, and that's not always going to go very well. Everyone seems to get away quite well. The Mercedes and Chevrolets, as always, get a decent enough start. Let's jump to a car near the back. Let's pick Lucky Bucky. In fact, no, we'll not pick Lucky Bucky. We'll pick Duco because he's in this pack. So now the Mercedes is absolutely rampaging past everybody else. Getting on the brakes nice and early. I'm hovering over my replay button. He has given a car a slight tap there. Oh, in his round, I'm not sure what happened there. We will of course go back and have a quick look at that in a moment, but a sentence I never thought I would say. Slow Seamus is leading the race. He is ahead of D-Dot. Sonic Race has gone very wide. He's adapting an entire new line for that corner there. Gwyn in 4th, Robert Allen in 5th, Cutler in 6th, Phil G in 7th. Rob Scott in 8th. Oh, we've got Shaw there in the background, absolutely slapping the wall. That's going to give him some damage potentially. Let's have a look. Yes, he has got damage. Not a lot though. He might, if he's planning on pitting after a few laps anyway, he might well get away with it. So what happened to Duco? So happy enough on the brakes. The car just bogged. It seemed like a throttle issue. Yeah, so the throttle seemed to get stuck on that car then. It's just how it looked. I mean, he wasn't really applying constant throttle, the car was revving out. So it just spat him out of the corner. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, the Mustang of Buddy is trying to make his way back through the field now, up to 7th position. Although just incurred a little bit of damage to his car. Sean makes his way back through. Just about managing to keep it. British Big, these intermediate tyres, you can tell that they're just offering a little bit more purchase in these wet conditions. If you're wondering why that is, that they've just got more contact area of the road, and because there's not as much standing water, contact area with the road is pretty critical with a little bit of ability to disperse water. So cut slicks really are your favourite choice. So probably a good strategy for the Slow Seamuses and the Gwyns of the world to go out in the wet. Get in theory the slower tyre out of the way earlier. Although I'd argue they're doing a good enough job at the minute. D-Dot down the inside. I've preemptively pressed the replay button because, yeah, we've got cars all over the shop already. We've got Buddy already into the wall. And the issue that some of the cars seem to be having is engagement of the clutch once they've gone off. And I think that was Sean as well, the McLaren that span. It seems to be whenever the cars are trying to engage the clutch after they've had an off. It's almost like the car goes into an anti-stall mode. Yeah, Buddy there just had to take avoiding action. yeah, you see, the car just doesn't want to engage the clutch, and it's Roving Island, I think, that was off. No, it was Gwyn that was off. Yeah, so it was Gwyn and Sonic Racer have had a little bit of a fall from grace, unfortunately. Phil G, he's pitted, so he's had damage. Phil G's continued run of bad luck continues, and as we start lap number, as we come to the start of lap number 3, Slow Seamus is still leading the race. D-Dot in the Chevrolet is all over the back of him. They are 5 seconds ahead of Cutler. There's been a lot of battling and to and fro in behind them. The good news for these two here is they've just now been able to escape up ahead. So the Audi and the Chevrolet, in theory, they need really just to work together. It's too early in the race for all this bickering. There's 2 people that are bickering, Rob Scott and Cutler. And then we've got Diablo in 5th place, just ahead of Sean. Sean has stayed out with that damage. Duco in 7th. Buddy in 8th position, still carrying that damage as well. Lucky Bucky 9th, and he's also carrying damage. Gwyn carrying damage as well, so is Sonic Racer. Let's run back up to the top. It looks like everyone's managed to survive turn 1 okay this time. I think so. Oh, we've got a lot of moving around. It was all to do with Lucky Bucky. Yeah, Lucky Bucky then got overtaken by Gwyn in the Jag. Might get taken here by Sonic Racer under braking as well. He is progressing up his inside. Lucky Bucky just ends up going very deep. But gets a nice tidy exit. Gets a good run on the Jag, who gets an absolute tank slapper ongoing. As D-Dot leads the race, my man D-Dot winning the race, 3 laps into 13. Absolutely nowhere on those intermediate tyres, purple sectors. He's where he needs to be at the minute. Slow Seamus in second, Cutler though in 3rd. Cutler is reeling them in. This lap, Cutler's taking time out of them, so I might be wrong about my intermediate and wet theory. The wets might be the superior tyre, but he seems to be wearing a little bit more than the inters. So I'm not sure why that, well, I do know why that is, but I'm not sure why he's done quicker. It's a little bit confusing. GT Sports Rain model has a lot to be desired, I will be brutally honest with you. Duco holds the fastest lap of the race so far at 2:09.9. So of course, because of the wet weather conditions, we're going a little bit slower. About 15 seconds there or thereabouts. Although not all of that is in straight line speed, a lot of that is just because you can't carry as much speed through the corners. Lucky Bucky, Phil G and Gwyn having a good old ding dong then. As we see, look like Roving Island pit in the background, yep. We'll get a Lucky Bucky eye view of what's going on ahead. Phil looks to have gone deep. He looked like he got on the brakes the same time as everyone else. Yeah, Phil's gone very deep there. Oh, and Lucky Bucky, a good job he's already damaged that part of his car, isn't it? Unfortunately for Lucky Bucky, that lets the Jags go, I'm afraid. Right, so Phil G, that lap though, did take the fastest lap at 2:07.2. We know he had slipstream. D-Dot's not had any slipstream so far, and he's done a 2:09.9. I've dropped my controller. Yeah, he's done a 2:09.9, and he's pulling time on Slow Seamus like he's going out of fashion. Slow Seamus is now starting to get caught by Cutler. Diablo having his own little battle. Rob Scott still for 4th. Duco's being nice and consistent. He's actually going quicker this lap as well, so he's starting to get those tyres to work. Sean's not had a great race so far, a little bit of damage on that, but he's up to 7th. Buddy 8th at the minute. The two Jags doing quite well, 9th and 10th, still in their own little battle. They've still got Lucky Bucky not too far away. Lucky Bucky though struggling with the front end damage. He will just be getting no front end grip, basically is how that will work. Cutler then catches Slow Seamus. The pit window is now open, so drivers can now pit. Cutler does indeed choose to do that, so yeah, so the wets must be the slower tyre. So every driver that's pitted so far is getting rid of a set of wet tyres, and they're going to go onto the inters. This is probably why D-Dot, who's now carrying damage, not sure when he got that damage, that lap of 2:11.1. Not great news for D-Dot. He's now getting caught by Slow Seamus, but yeah, that's why he needs to maximise his opportunities on these tyres, because he's got the wets to come yet. Duco up to 3rd again, another driver that's got the wets to take on the intermediates. Sorry, Sean on the intermediates as well. Then there's this almighty great battle. Oh, we've got contact in the back. That was Sonic Racer and Lucky Bucky, I think. 100% accidental contact, but contact nonetheless. So I think this was where was it? If I just go up ahead here. Yeah, Sonic Racer's going to get a tail on. Yeah, Lucky Bucky's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Absolutely no intent with that, and Sonic Racer looks like he's even let him by as well. But these guys in the Jags and the Mercs, they're having a really good fight. Gwyn looks to have escaped away a little bit, despite carrying a ton of damage on that car and picking up even more on his way as well. He has escaped up to 6th. Was going away with Phil G then. D-Dot does still lead the race, so he's still leading. He's still ahead, end of lap 5. So he's still setting himself up to be in a good position. A lot of it now is going to come down to fuel. So anyone that's managed to save fuel won't have to be in the pits as long. 9 laps is about a pit stop, so yeah, D-Dot actually pits early, so he's going to have to take the wet tyres, which the pit crew haven't got ready for him. So he will have to go on a set of wets. Add enough fuel, probably repair that damage as well. Hands the lead of the race over to Slow Seamus. Now that Audi is starting to cook its rears, it does do that. The wets don't wear as fast as a racing compound, but the problem is when the wet grip level goes, you have nothing. When you start to overheat them, they offer you no grip at all. So Slow Seamus and Duca might have, in fact the intermediates aren't anywhere near as bad when they start to overheat. In a lot of cases they can actually get grippier. They're a lot more like a slick like that, whereas the wets really don't like being heat cycled too much. Sean now coming under pressure from Phil G. Phil, didn't he pit the opening lap? I'm sure he pitted the opening lap. Or he had a spin, one or the other. Yeah, he span, didn't he? And so Phil now up to 3rd, 13 seconds off the lead of the race. Wet tyres on board that car, so he's going to come in and take the slower intermediates. Definitely going to be one to watch, same as Sean, but Sean's got the slower wet tyre to come. Then the two Jags, these two love racing each other, Gwyn and Sonic Racer. They've been pretty much inseparable the entire way. Both drivers on differing strategies actually. We've got Gwyn on wets, Sonic on inters. They are both carrying damage though, that'll negate that a little bit. First his pit stoppers, then his Cutler. Now out on the intermediate tyre. Rob Scott 8th, D-Dot 9th from the lead. Unfortunately for D-Dot, he's come out in a lot of traffic. He's come out ahead of Diablo. Diablo also pitted, he's on the inters. So Diablo on the faster tyre. D-Dot was your race leader, but I think because he had to fix some damage, That will no doubt have slowed him up. Race leader in the pits then, so slow Seamus pits. Duco's carrying on. He's maximising the use out of those inters. He will probably try and stretch this stint. He's got about another lap or two's worth of fuel on that car, so the least amount of time he can spend on the wets, probably ideal for him. Sonic Racer goes through into second. Cutler, will he get third? He will. Slow Seamus will probably get caught by Rob Scott as well. No, probably about it. Rob Scott's just going to absolutely breeze past him then. And Diablo managed to catch the Audi as well. No, he gets on the brakes really early then, Diablo. So Diablo's a case in point of drivers that have got to be very adaptive in this race. Not only is he using a completely different setup to the first race, but he's also got extra weight on board that car as well, by virtue of being so dominant in race 1. He's got a lot more weight on board that car this time round. Is my cup of tea drinkable? We've been going for about 15 minutes, so it should be. Oh, it's at that sweet spot. You know when it's like, yeah, that's a good cup of that. A little bit milkier than I normally make it, but I did make it in the dark, so I'm going to forgive myself. So only Duco will know if he's going to pit this lap or carry on. The good news for him is the next car back is Cutler, and he is 25 seconds back. Although he's gaining time then on Duco up ahead, so I'd probably expect to see him in the pits this time around. Yeah, he does. It might have been a bit risky just stretching that fuel, that's the only thing. If he could probably get away with it without slowing him down too much, it might be worth going for the extra lap, but looking at it, he didn't have the fuel on board, so I'd imagine Cutler, by virtue of the undercut, will probably now assume the lead of the race. We'll just see what Duco's pit strategy does. Slow Seamus now getting taken by the Chevrolet. Cutler does indeed come out ahead of Duco. His car's both 3 seconds ahead of the Audi of Slow Seamus and the Chevrolet of Rob Scott. D.Dot pits again. Not sure why. We did see who else have we got? Britsberger. We've not mentioned Britsberger too much. He hasn't pitted yet. He's in 6th place. He's on the inters. Doing well, nice and consistent for Britsberger. In fact, let's have a full rundown of the field. We're about halfway through, so, well, we're over halfway through actually. So Cutler is your race leader, 2.5 seconds ahead of Duco. Hope I'm getting your name right now, mate. If not, who cares? And then Slow Seamus, great drive from, I mean, like, please don't deck it now, because like then it's my fault and I'll feel guilty for about 10 seconds, but doing a fine job so far. I P3 for that man. Rob Scott in 4th, carrying a little bit of rear aero damage. That's more to do with your diffuser, so how your downforce interacts with the rear of the car. So a little bit of rear stability around high speed corners, you'll probably lose that. Potentially a little bit of traction, but in the wet you don't notice that at all. Then you got Diablo defending away to Britsberger. Actually, Britsberger is now able to get down the inside as Diablo takes the scenic route around the final corner. Phil G had a bit of a spin lap 1, but has raced a solid race since, really. Currently holds fastest lap as well, a 2:07.2, and is on track to improve that even further. Now he's on the inters and going very fast. I've just seen Slow Seamus and Ace. That can't be right. Anyway, Phil G sets a new fastest lap, 206.2. I think GT Sports playing tricks on me. Lucky Bucky then defending away to Sean. So the McLaren literally at the edge of its capabilities right now, and as soon as it pops out the slipstream, the Mercedes just ebbs away ever so slightly. Lucky Bucky might have gone a little bit late on the brakes there, and Sean taking that wide line in. Plenty of respect given by Sean to not just drive up the inside of Lucky Bucky. The problem is though, by taking a very slow line through turn 1, that's going to put him into the clutches of Sonic Racer and Gwyn. Both drivers have now pitted, neither of them have damage, both of them are on a mission. Buddy has pitted as well. Not quite sure where Buddy's race went wrong. Lap 4 and 5 were horrible, so just not having a good time with it, I think, Buddy. And then Roving Island 14th again, probably having a bit of a race to forget, unfortunately, for Roving Island. Someone who's not having a race to forget is the tyre whisperer himself, Mr. Cutler, as he comes around to start lap 10 of 13, 3.5 seconds ahead of Duco. Slow Seamus still third, quite rightly as well. In fact, his last lap was nearly a full second faster than the cars behind him. He'll want the cars behind him to keep fighting. The more they fight, the better it is for the Audi driver. 6th place is Diablo, carrying a little bit of damage. He's 3 seconds off the cars ahead. Although I do just want to keep an eye on Britsberger and Rob Scott. Diablo pits. He's going back on to... He's got some tyres ready, so I'm not sure. The Inters should be faster. Slow Seamus looks to be keeping with Duco now, so yeah, 2:08.8 that time out. In fact, he was 4 tenths faster that lap than Duco. So the Audi really working around this circuit when it's raining. Those Germans, those inventive Germans. Phil G, another 2:06 lap that time round, so he's a man on a mission. He is looking to catch the Britsbergers and Rob Scotts ahead of him, who are fighting. They are lapping a couple of seconds slower than Phil is. In theory, by the end of lap 10 or mid lap 11, my apologies, Phil G should be on Rob Scott like a tromp on chips. We've got Lucky Bucky, had a bit of an unlucky race. Massive gap, 15 second gap up to Phil G, but he is leading the second pack, which consists of Sonic Racer, Sean, Gwyn, Diablo. The Mustang's really struggling in the wet conditions. D-Dot, Buddy and Roving Island. So yeah, these V8 cars with all the power and torque in the world, just not getting on with the car in wet conditions. Slow Seamus then has had a horrible lap there and is now under pressure from Britsberger. Press the wrong button there. Don't want that one. There we go. Britsberger now putting in the good lap times, 2:07s, the lap times he needs to be doing really to get ahead of the Irishman ahead of him. Slow Seamus at 2:09 that time round, so yes, just a little bit slower than he would have liked. Britsberger does go deep. Seamus' braking's much tidier, just able to tuck it back in on the inside. Britsberger in the Aston will all preemptively just trying to get on the power, and that's going to drop him way out of the toe from Seamus then. And all that work he did over the last lap undone in a split second for Britsberger. Although he has escaped the clutches of Rob Scott. Phil G now 1.8 seconds. I did say about mid this lap I'd expect Phil to be on Rob, and my prediction's probably about right as Rob spins it then coming out of turn 4. Phil even now carrying a little bit of damage. He's 1.4 seconds down from his fastest lap, so Phil's had a bit of a horrible lap so far as well. But he is all over the back of the Chevrolet as Britsberger and Slow Seamus go to war again. Slow Seamus now carrying a little bit of damage. There's a little bit of a tap there from the Aston Martin driver, just sent Seamus a little bit wide. And with the inside, the Aston Martin was able to go through. We'll see if Seamus just tries to stick with the Aston Martin down the main straight. Phil probably has the same strategy with the Chevrolet. It's a great exit out of the final corner. It's going to be a bit of a drag race then. Question is between these two, can they then catch Slow Seamus and Britsberger up ahead of them? The gap between Rob Scott and Slow Seamus is 3 seconds. It's quite a gap. Seamus and Britsberger actually both pit. Again, did they have enough fuel to carry on? Because if they did, and they are, I think they did, then I would not have pitted. Some of the pit strategies that have been taking place in this race, ladies and gentlemen, have left a little bit to be considered. Yeah, just confused me immensely. Phil G then, from back of the grid, lap 1, sideways, coming out of this exact corner, to being sat in a podium position then on the penultimate lap. He's just managed to get past Rob Scott. Rob has been struggling in that Chevrolet. We have sort of commented that these big V8s, they don't really have the finesse of a lot of these European and Asian cars up ahead of them. They are towers of power. This is why they did well in race 1, but in race 2, in the wet conditions, they were forecast to struggle then. Slow Seamus out in 5th. Did he pit just to repair that damage? Because it doesn't look like he's added any fuel. I don't understand your strategy, Seamus. I really don't get it. Was it costing you that much? I don't think it was. Yeah, I don't know, man. Lucky Bucky's now all over you, look. Lucky Bucky, the man on the mission. Been sat having battles with Jaguars his entire race, and now he's looking at scalping an Audi. Your race leader though, Cutler, still ahead of Duco, still by a similar margin. Both of them have pretty much judged their fuel to perfection. Both of these guys starting the final lap now. Phil G pretty clear in 3rd ahead of Rob Scott. Has still got some damage on that car, so that he'll feel that, but it's not massively dramatic. Rob hasn't got the same though. Slow Seamus and Lucky Bucky as they start their final lap. Lucky Bucky and the Mercedes should have the legs here on the Audi. Doesn't know without the slipstream, he's actually struggling. No battles going on elsewhere, so I'm just going to, let's keep an eye on Slow Seamus and Lucky Bucky. It's the action on track really. Coming down to turn 1, the Mercedes driver, can he make it stick then against the Audi? Goes down the inside, plenty of room given by Seamus. Can Seamus just get it tidier on the exit? I would argue Seamus's exit was tidier. Lucky Bucky then taking the wide line. Can Seamus get the move made? As we come up the hill, you don't traditionally see overtakes happen up here, but Slow Seamus is going to potentially try and make one work anyway. Nothing doing there for the Audi driver. He's got to tuck in for the time being. Potentially make that move happen down the start-finish straight is where you would want to see that. Sonic Racer 7th at the minute with Britsberger in 8th. Gwyn 9th position, just defending away to D-Dot then. D-Dot looking to pick up an extra position on the last lap. Sean in 11th, Robin Island 12th, Buddy in 13th, and Diablo All the way down in 14th for Diablo, having a race to forget. That car just does not want to turn into the corners. It does not like it. There's a D-dot then. Gwyn now has engine damage. That is normally bad news. I don't know where he exactly picked that up. So Sean's will get an extra position up as well. Cutler wins the race. P1, P2 for Duco. Great race for him as well. Phil G, an unexpected podium, but I'm sure one he will take anyway. 4th for Rob Scott, another good result for him. Lucky Bucky in 5th position. Finally did see off the rampant Irishman that was Slow Seamus. Sonic Racer 7th position. Another, he's making a habit of doing well in these second races. Good result for him. I had Britsburger in 8th position. D-Dot 9th for D-Dot in the end. Not a bad result in a big American barge. Sean in 10th. Roving Island in 11th. Buddy 12th. Gwyn 13th. And your race winner from race 1 is finishing a minute 16 seconds behind the race winner from race 2 and in last position. The Mustang of Diablo really not enjoying life at Tokyo in the wet conditions, but it's all about Cutler. It's, again, just a very well driven consistent race for Cutler to bring him a race 2 victory. So that is your race 2. Yeah, so that's your race 2 then, ladies and gents, from Tokyo. I'm just going to have a look at where we're at next. I think we've got a break coming up. It's not yet. It's not far away. Track list, let's have a look. So that was round 4, wasn't it? Ah, yeah, round 4 was Tokyo. Round 5. Ooh. It's Nürburgring Nordschleife, ladies and gents. That's what's next. The full Nords experience, 50 minutes at the Nürburgring. That's going to be next week, 7th of April. We then have a half-season break, and we will then return at the Red Bull Ring. So yeah, that's your race for this time. Yeah, it was just a bit of an interest. I mean, rain's an equaliser for people. It's a difficult, especially in games. Like, it's very hard to judge breaking points. You can't always tell that the car's just going to lose out on you because you don't really get that level of feeling through like the pedals and your steering wheel and stuff. You don't always get that feedback in game, so it is a little bit of a it's just guesswork sometimes, you know. Plus it's weird how they don't always simulate like a dry and a wet line. I've always wondered that as a bit of a strange thing. You don't end up getting a dry line form, and that means you don't really have track evolution, and yeah, it's a bit strange. Anyway, that's it from me. Join me next week for 50 minutes of the Nürburgring. If Nev or Potter or Smoker's watching, I would like your alternative Nürburgring corner names for next week, please, gentlemen. I'll get them printed out somehow, and I will use them as my track guide for next week. No worries, Cutler. No worries, man. Yeah, I've not been feeling on my game today. I'd love to say it's fatigue. Fatigue, I don't think it is. I slept quite well last night. Just, you know when your brain feels like a couple of seconds slower than everything else? Yeah, that tonight. Cheers, Phil. Cheers, Phil. Yeah, and unlucky, man. In race 1, I can't remember what happened to you, but Yeah, it's been a bit of a strange championship for you, hasn't it? Nürburgring next week. That one's just going to be all about keeping it on track. It's going to be so easy to lose time by stacking it into a wall. We've got heavy damage as well. It's going to be a 7-8 minute long lap. Going around that lap with damage is going to be pretty harmful to your race pace, and you don't want to do that. So yeah, keeping it out of the wall is going to be critical at Nords. Yeah, it's strange, man, because I sit here like knowing that you're always someone that could snag a result, but then I don't want to say that on stream, because then 10 seconds later you end up binning it because I've said something nice about it. Typical commentator's curse. You must just sense me. So yeah, the drivers are actually going to have a little go, or some of them are going to have a little go at Nords now. Yeah, and Joros. Weird. Right, anyway, that's this stream, sorry, done and dusted. I thank you ever so much for joining me. Please do join me next week. Any shout outs, anything coming up? Yeah, of course, in terms of shout outs, go check out Dark Smoke on YouTube. He does the stream of the Pro League. So if this has whet your appetite for more moist GT3 action, then I can only encourage you to go and have a look at his channel. We're going to be live again tomorrow for the McGanns. We have got GT3 and Infinity GT starting soon, so that's coming up. And then we'll be back next week for more MRC GT3 stuff. So big thanks for MRC for hosting it all. Big thanks to Team I4 Racing for sponsoring and their constant involvement. And yeah, we'll see you all next time. Thanks for tuning in, take care of yourselves, and good night.